Well, we will go ahead and get started. We'd like to welcome Justin Thomas to the interview room here at the Fortinet Championship. Justin, thanks for joining us. You're making your sixth start here at the Fortinet Championship with top 10 finishes in each of your last three starts. With that said, just a few thoughts on the decision to come back and play this week.
Yeah, I like this golf course. I like this tournament. Obviously like Napa as well. It's pretty hard not to like, but it hasn't, like, unfortunately, a lot of tournaments in past, it just hasn't necessarily fit schedule-wise. And with the way the season ended last year a little earlier, I felt like I just didn't want to take that long off of competitive golf, and had an opportunity to come to a place that I really liked. And then it worked out even better after getting picked for the Ryder Cup to get a little, get some competition under my belt before going there. So I had some nice time off, but also had some nice weeks practice, and I haven't gone this long without competitive golf in a while, so I'm excited.
Okay, and Max was just in a few minutes ago, and he ended up talking a bit about you, and he's like, that is testament to how good of a player Justin Thomas is. He finished 71st in the FedEx Cup, which isn't bad, but there's always been just such the high expectations from you as well as people that follow you. How much are you looking forward to kind of moving forward with the Ryder Cup coming up and so forth, and kind of getting back to what you're kind of demanding of yourself?
I'm excited. Anytime when you're going forward or moving, you don't want to say moving on, but you have opportunities to grow and get better. I definitely am hard on myself, but I kind of reminded myself some of that same stuff that Max said, which is very nice of him, by the way, of just, the fact that I feel like I have been held, not only because of myself, but everybody else's expectations of me, held to a standard that clearly means that somebody thinks something decent of me as a golfer. So that's a good way to look at it, and that's pretty much what I try to do the end of the year, is look at everything as a positive. And it was never near as bad as it always seemed like it was, I'm excited and to these next couple months and tournaments here and there that I'm playing in, and then once we get rolling in 24.
Okay, well, with that, we'll take a few questions. We'll start right back here.
Hey, Justin, obviously we saw on social media you posting about working on your swing. What kind of specific things have you been working on there over the last month to try to get more consistent?
I just honestly trying to get it in similar positions that I had it when I was swinging and hitting it my best. I felt like 2017, 2018, 2019, my best, I guess, ball striking years, and when I was winning the most golf tournaments, and I had a lot more width then, and my swing was a little bit shorter, and I felt like because of that, it was in a consistent, way more consistent, repeatable place coming down, and I just got away from some of that. There were some things I was trying to change that I ended up basically overdoing or over-exaggerating too early, and that just got me in some tough spots, and I felt like the club was getting too steep going back, and then I had to reroute it coming down. And I said it some last year, I feel like I have really good hands that I can make that work for a day or two, but that's not exactly realistic to do for 4 days, let alone trying to win golf tournaments at the highest level. It's really just, looked at so much old video and just trying to see where it was at the end of the season, and what are the current, I guess, if you will, feels or triggers or whatever you want to call it, to get me back in similar-ish positions. And so it was just a lot of balls, a lot of repetition to try to kind of get it back in those slots, if you will.
Over the last month, there's been various reports, some contradictory, of how much you're kind of owning your own swing, how much you're still working with your dad, how much you're working with your putting coach. Just want an opportunity to... Are you still working a lot with your dad, still working with the putting coach? Like, where are you at currently?
Yeah, some things definitely got lost in translation and incorrect, to be perfectly honest. John Graham and I are not working together anymore, and it was a very we had a great conversation, and I mean, it's testament to him, but it's also just, I mean, he understood. He's probably harder on himself than I am on myself for him. And I felt like we gotten to a point where everything was fundamentally or mechanically or on the putting green was as good as it could get, but basically, like what I told him is, he can't go out and make the putts for me. I have to figure that out, and that's something only I can do. And, it's just something where I grew up just going out and practicing and hitting putts and figuring out how to get it in the hole. I didn't necessarily care how it looked, and all that mattered was getting the ball in the hole as fast as I can, and that's more what I want to do. And I know that there's a lot of really knowledgeable people out there, John included, that if down the road, if I feel like it gets to a point where I need to see somebody, then I can. But the hope is that I don't need to. And in terms of my dad, it's the owning and accountability is just the part that I feel like I lost a little bit in myself. And I think the Wyndham was a big week for me because I was by myself, and I've always taken great pride in being able to adjust both in practice but also in tournament play on the run. If things aren't going well, I feel like I've been really good at figuring it out and making changes on the course and just kind of tweaking and changing things until something clicks, and I just feel like I lost that a little bit. I am and was very lucky. I mean, I am very lucky to have a team that's very, very involved. But I just think for me personally, I had them. They were there too often to where I became dependent on them, and then I just lost all ownership, all accountability to where when things were going wrong, I was looking to them to answer the questions instead of I'm the one that needs to figure it out at some point. And so that's just kind of it's more like how I feel like it was in 2017, 2018, when I was playing my best golf. I mean, my dad came out a handful of times a year, more so because he was working. But, he can come out any and all as he wants as a dad, but there's just going to be some weeks where, if things are good, I don't necessarily need a coach. And I think that's more of just where I want things is like, hey, we can exchange texts, we'll work, every so often when we're home and when it's needed, but when things are great, I don't need to have somebody there with me hitting balls or putting all the time, because then it's like I'm just going to end up finding something that's not even there. So it's a really long explanation to what you said, but that's just the reality. It wasn't nothing as extreme as it is, as much as just me being me again and trying to just dig it out of the dirt and take ownership and accountability and figure out how to shoot as low as I can again.
Because you had so much success, 2 PGAs, and you're on the curve up, something like that happens. Obviously, and I've been around again, the question is what's wrong, and you get that a lot. Mm-hmm. All other athletes do when they have a problem. Was that a major concern where people kept asking you, hey, what's the matter, what's the matter?
Concern, no. Don't take this the wrong way. Annoying, yes. It's not that big a deal. It wasn't that bad. It just was, like you said, I was very fortunate to play some really, really good golf, and I played some really good golf last year. I just didn't have those couple wins in a year. I didn't, finish off a couple tournaments how I felt like I should have, and it's a very, very, very fine line out here, and I just was on the other side of that line one year. But when you're constantly being told, being reminded, it's pretty easy to convince yourself that you're not doing things that well. But I'm very lucky to have a great support system and great team around me to remind me that that's not the case, and also I have a lot of belief in myself that I'm not as far off as I think, and all it takes is 1 week, one stretch, one whatever you want to call it, that could just completely flip everything, and nobody even talks or remembers it anymore.
Go ahead, James.
I asked Max the same line of question. Can you look 2 or 3, 4 months in advance from now, and what do you make of the new season with the different formats, the special events, the other kinds of events? What's your perspective on what that means to golf?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be much different than this past season was. I mean, we had our elevated events, and I think, I mean, to me, it was, last year was a great example in a couple different ways of just how it can happen, right? And I think it was frustrating because being in the position I was/am, it's hard to talk to a lot of the membership about it because, you know, they feel it's a oh, of course the rich get richer. It's all, you get this. Well, of course you get this. But it's like, I didn't play well last year. I'm not in the elevated events. I have to earn my way in, whether it's through world ranking, whether it's through qualifying in certain events, trying to get sponsor exemptions. Like, that's the reality, and that's golf. But look at Adam Schenk. I mean, he was in the top 5 of the FedEx Cup for the season with a couple holes left. Like, that is the reality. So you can look at it two ways. Is it like you can complain and talk about how, well, of course everybody gets that, or you can go do what Adam Schenk did. You can go do, I mean, Patrick Rogers is one of my best friends for a long time, and he had never made it to the BMW, and he made it to the BMW for the first time, and now he's in the elevated events. Like, you can view, to look at it as, this is a great opportunity for me to go play well and get in these events, or you can just look at it the other way around. And but at the end of the day, it brings all the best golfers into the same place at the same time, and that's what's most important, because that's the best product. That's what fans want to see. That's who we want to play against. And I think it's, in the end, it's going to be what's best for golf.
Yeah, Justin, welcome to Napa and Silverado. How important is it for you to use this week to, you know, assert your game, get on that leaderboard, and use that as to propel you onto that Ryder Cup? You know, to have this week, you know, here in Napa where you've played so very, very well. Is that in your mind?
Not really. I don't think it's that important. I think, I mean, now that I've been picked, I don't have to prove anything. It's just more about, I'm here to try to play well in a golf tournament and play well, and try to give myself a chance and get in contention. I mean, I know when I don't play competitively for 2 or 3 weeks, I'm a little rusty competitively. So I'm sure after, you know, a month and a half, it's going to be a challenge to get back into it. But it's something that that I'm excited for. I mean, I did not touch a golf club for 2 weeks. My club just sat in the floor in my garage after Wyndham, and I was really excited to go practice and play golf again because I knew I was playing in this tournament. So I'm not necessarily I put enough pressure on myself already to try to play well. I don't need to add to it to try to propel the season or play well for the Ryder Cup or anything. Like I said, I'm fortunate where I'm already on the Ryder Cup team, so I don't need to prove anything for that. And I'm just going to go out here this week and just try to play as well as I can.
Justin, how much did losing in Paris hurt?
Yeah, it hurt a lot. It's not fun watching the other team celebrate in front of you. It's a bummer because, you know, all of you work so hard and you do everything together as a team and you play for your team, but at the same time you lose as a team. So we were all, unfortunately, the losers that week. But yeah, it's a different kind of hurt. I mean, I remember I don't know why I specifically remember being next to Brooks. I think maybe Alex Noren or something made a long putt on 18. I forget who he was playing, and they had already won, and that kind of started the celebrations, if you will, for them. And Brooks just being like, you know, I've only been on one of these, and it was winning, and that is a lot more fun than this is here. So it's something you don't forget, and it sucks.
How much do you think the experience of playing in multiple Ryder Cups helps you in particular?
I think it helps a lot. I think I try to explain to people. I mean, it's nerves I've never had in golf. I mean, winning 2 majors 15 times, like it doesn't hold a candle to how nervous I have been in Ryder Cups and how nervous I was on the first tee in Paris. It's a totally different feeling, and it's butterflies, it's exciting butterflies, but it's something that I feel like I can use not only for myself, but I mean, I want to help the guys. I mean, I think I remember how people were to me in 17 the President's Cup and then 18 in the Ryder Cup. I was fortunate, with Tiger being a captain, and I mean Jordan obviously was super helpful, and he was the most relatable just because of age and the way that we are, but also he had played it enough to where I felt like I could. He was going to shoot me straight. He wasn't going to maybe give me something a captain might to kind of hype me up or whatever it may be. And so he was very helpful, and that's kind of the same thing I want to be to any rookie or anybody who would be uncomfortable on our team there.
Okay, we got 3 more. 1, 2, and then in the back 3.
Obviously, you go over to Rome last week. You get a look at the course. We heard a lot about in 2018 about the Golf National and how that course was set up specifically to kind of maybe take away what some of the Americans were good at. Now, having seen that course and being able to play, or you played in 2018, could you just kind of compare the 2 courses and what your thoughts were of Marcus Simone?
Well, it's the same architect to start, so it looks very similar. But I played the French Open the year that the Ryder Cup was in Paris, and they didn't set the course up any tougher for the Ryder Cup. The Golf National is a tough golf course. It's very narrow fairways, very long rough. That's all I kept telling the guys is this is exactly what this place is, and other than the length of the rough in Rome, I would say that's the same thing. You have some narrow fairways and some extremely penal rough, but that's what we know what we're going to get over there. So it's not a surprise, and it's nothing. We got over there. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's like this. It's you know what you're getting into, and you know what you have to do. So it's just about going out and executing, and just try to ball strike our way the best we can, and make the putts when we need to.
So you're doing some driver shaft testing this week, rare for you. You don't switch driver shafts a lot. Mm-hmm. Curious how that went, and if you're looking at making a switch this week with the driver.
Yeah, I did some testing with JJ. They came a couple weeks ago. I felt like I wanted a longer driver option to have. I wanted something to where, maybe I travel with it every week, and it's like maybe I use it 5 times a year, maybe I use it once, maybe whatever. It's just 3/4 of an inch longer, but I mean it's an instant 2 or 3 club speed, and I mean it goes quite a bit further, and it was just something I wanted to have. I felt like we kind of screwed around, and he'd sent me some stuff in the mail, but hadn't done like a proper fitting for one, because I know that my driver's great, or works how I want it to. So we found that 1, 2 to stretch 3 options, and I've driven it really, really well with the longer driver. Actually, the last 2 weeks using it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go hit some balls and make a decision. I mean, it'll be most likely just end up using my gamer, but it's just something that I just wanted to have more than anything, and I was hitting it really good the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, well, maybe we'll end up playing this more than we thought, but we'll see. I mean, it's an instant 3 to 5. It's when I hit it hard, hit that hard high one. I mean, it's a 15 yards or so. Which is a nice thing, obviously, to have.
All right, we'll finish up with Matt.
JT, I've been very impressed over the last couple of months, just kind of watching you carry yourself through all of this Ryder Cup stuff, and just kind of wondering, now that you are on the team and you've got that spot secured, if you can kind of reflect on what these last couple of months have been like, kind of a position you've never been in before.
Yeah, it was brutal. I told Zach after the fact that I compared it to, like, if you had an ex-girlfriend that you were trying to find any excuse you could to reach out to them to get in contact. That's pretty much how I felt like with Zach. I I understood it wasn't going to be something where I text him and he's like, hey, just to let you know, we're at like a 60% chance. I'm like, no, that's not what I was looking for in any way, shape, or form. But it is. It's very tough when you can't do anything about it, especially I literally couldn't do anything about it. Basically all the other picks besides Brooks had the playoffs to play in, to where they could prove themselves a little bit more or solidify their spot a little bit more, and I just had to sit at home. And it was brutal, and it was like when Zach called, it was a lot of emotions, but like a relief was almost the first thing, and excitement. It was a lot. I had a lot of sleepless nights, and then I think finally at one point it just kind of hit me. I had accepted the fact whatever was going to happen, and I was okay with that, and I was always going to be supportive regardless of what happened. And I'm just very, very excited, fortunate, happy that it ended the way that it did.
All right. JT, thank you for your time. As always, we do appreciate it.